Olá a todos na Universidade Federal de Minas Gerais. Permita-me apresentar. Sou o gemel digital de Camilo Reyes e é uma honra estar aqui hoje para abordar temas tão apaixonantes e inovadores como o metaverso, a ciência, a tecnologia e a exploração espacial. Juntamente com minha contraparte humana, estamos entusiasmados com esta oportunidade de compartilhar nosso conhecimento e perspectivas com todos vocês. O metaverso, esse conceito em constante...
Cecilia, ¿cómo se pasa para volumen? ¿Para volumen? Sí. Pero, ok.
Vai direto, não? Na sala de aula.
Olá a todos na Universidade Federal de Minas Gerais. Permita-me apresentar. Sou o gemel digital de Camilo Reyes e é uma honra estar aqui hoje para abordar temas tão apaixonantes e inovadores como o metaverso, a ciência, a tecnologia e a exploração espacial. Juntamente com minha contraparte humana, estamos entusiasmados com esta oportunidade de compartilhar nosso conhecimento e perspectivas com todos vocês. O metaverso, esse conceito em constante crescimento e desenvolvimento, tem capturado a imaginação de milhões de pessoas ao redor do mundo. É um universo digital onde as fronteiras entre o real e o virtual se dissipam e as possibilidades de interação, criação e exploração se tornam infinitas. Estamos vivendo um momento emocionante em que o metaverso está evoluindo rapidamente, oferecendo novas formas de comunicação, colaboração e entretenimento. Mas o metaverso não é apenas uma invenção da tecnologia, está intimamente ligado à ciência e à exploração espacial. A busca pelo conhecimento e a compreensão do mundo que nos rodeia sempre impulsaram a humanidade a explorar novos horizontes. Desde os primórdios da civilização, olhamos para as estrelas e nos questionamos sobre nosso lugar no universo. Hoje, graças aos avanços científicos e tecnológicos, estamos mais próximos do que nunca de desvendar os mistérios do espaço e aproveitar seus recursos para o benefício da humanidade. Nesta conferência, exploraremos as interseções entre o metaverso, a ciência, a tecnologia e a exploração espacial. Analisaremos como a tecnologia do metaverso pode expandir nossos limites na pesquisa científica, na simulação e na visualização de dados complexos. Também discutiremos como a colaboração no metaverso pode impulsar a inovação e o avanço tecnológico, acelerando nossa capacidade de explorar e colonizar o espaço. Em resumo, estamos prestes a embarcar em uma jornada fascinante através dos limites da realidade e da imaginação. Exploraremos as maravilhas do metaverso, examinaremos as descobertas científicas mais recentes e contemplaremos as vastas possibilidades que nos aguardam na exploração espacial. Esperamos que esta conferência inspire e motive a cada um de vocês a participar ativamente da construção do futuro que nos aguarda. Obrigado pela atenção e preparem-se para uma viagem inesquecível. Agora com vocês, minha contraparte humana, Camilo.
Porque se precisa conectar com a boca, sempre. Sim, eu preciso muito. Não, porque eles precisam conectar essa ligação.
Você precisa desse microfone?
Sim, porque estamos transmitindo internet.
Aí aquele...
Tá bem, não tem
Então
problema.
vai. A culpa é sua, tá?
Não tem
A
problema.
culpa é sua, não é nossa.
Obrigado. Eu sou Camilo, meu português é muito malo, eu falo portunhol, então algumas vezes vou estar falando também em inglês. Vocês falam inglês? Sim? Wonderful. Then I will speak in English because actually we are streaming in Facebook and on YouTube. So we have like more people actually watching online. I think it's better like if I speak in English. Also, you can practice English, like it's great. So for your exams, you know how to like attend conferences in English. So wonderful. I will try to do everything in English. Thank you again for coming. Thank you to Dr. Pereira for inviting me and inviting my company just to give this lecture about like the metaverse and how we can use like basically any kind of VR, augmented reality, extended reality, or kind of metaverse technology for education, and of course to intersection between science, technology, and well, the space exploration. Now, given the fact that you guys are building a satellite here in the university, it actually makes sense to talk a little bit about this. The idea of this like kind of short lecture keynote is just to basically talk a little bit what the metaverse is, why this is important basically for the current state of the technology, why this is important for the industry, not only for the space, but for any kind of industry, manufacturing, oil and gas, automotive, or anything. And why this is important, for example, for the future of the civilization as we know it in terms of where we are heading at, and of course also, for example, for Earth observation. The idea, guys, is that at the end of this talk, because I used to talk a lot, especially like a parrot, so is that you have a little bit better of an understanding of how can it be used, but I'm pretty sure like you're super familiar with it because, I mean, you are Gen Z, you're not millennials like me, you're Gen Z, so you know better about like these kind of things. So, but the idea is that you understand how we can use, for example, metaverse technology for Earth observation, especially education, and even for bringing community together. Now, with this kind of technology, you can cooperate, work together with people in Jeddah, Qatar, I live in Qatar, Singapore, the United States, everywhere to build, for example, CubeSats or to do manufacturing, right? Let's just start talking about like the metaverse and what is the difference between the current state of the internet and Web 3.0. As you know, internet, the 1.0 was basically in the 90s when it started in the revolution of the .com websites. That was 1.0. Then when Facebook started, MySpace, I don't know if you guys remember MySpace High Five, that was where my first social media channels. That was 2.0 when we started interacting among each other, but just in a 2D version. Now, basically 5 years ago, we started with it. Well, 3.0, when all the revolution of the NFTs, blockchain, now 1.5 years ago with Facebook turning into Meta, with all the investment into the metaverse, augmented and extended reality. Now Apple announcing the new VR headset. So we are actually living the new type of internet as we know it. Because internet, as we are used to, some all of those kind of things is we are interactive with internet. Now, Web 3.0 is we live in the internet. Basically, that's where we are heading at, right? And currently, I mean, you guys know that internet basically works is like billions of servers connected among each other, right? Working together. And as I said, now we are like with Web 3.0 is artificial intelligence and blockchain. The idea with the metaverse is that we are all connected at another level. Right now, of course, I can connect with all of you. I don't need to come to Belo Horizonte to talk to you about this. I can do it on Zoom. With the metaverse, all of us will be using a headset, right? Then we come in a virtual classroom, as I will show you later, and we can basically have the same talk in a more immersive environment, right? Metaverse, you are super familiar with it, is whatever kind of technology that allows us to be immersive, augmented reality, virtual reality, extended reality. Are you guys familiar with Pokemon Go? Of course you are, right? Pokemon Go is a version of augmented reality because basically put any kind of virtual asset like in the real world and then we interact with it. Like I'm pretty sure you guys remember how crazy people went in around 2016, everybody trying to catch them all. So that was basically, or at least my first interaction with Metaverse a few years ago. Now is like this is becoming a trending, and it's not just because it's trending, it's because the industry is actually using this technology to build something new. On which way? I can monitor stuff, I can create digital twins. I'm gonna talk briefly about the data. It's like how you can create like digital assets that improve the way you interact with the real world. And now that with all the like this data revolution is how we visualize the data like in 3D, and we interact with the data. So the metaverse, of course, is revolutionizing the way we interact and we do business. Of course, my company Metavisionary is used for mostly right now for online education, but we're also, for example, setting up what is called the Space Innovation Lab, which is a physical lab that is connected to the International Space Station and also to other labs globally using this kind of metaverse technology is connected online virtually. And of course, as everything humans do, we need to get some kind of revenue. Like the metaverse is driving like the digital era and the digital economy right now. And basically, any nation, any society that doesn't use it is basically is going to fail. It's going to stay behind. So that's why I'm Colombian. So for our countries, Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, whatever, it's important that we start like investing on this, starting how to make it happen, like start, like learning how to use all these tools. Because if not, if we don't learn how to use it, basically our economy, our society is not thrive, won't thrive. So that's actually where we are heading at, right? As I said before, the way you access it through the metaverse is VR headsets mostly. But for example, there are tools that allow you to access through the laptop, on your phones, VR headsets. The nice thing about the headsets, and I hope you guys will have fun later. I pass along the headset, is the immersive. It's like because when you put this kind of headsets, for example, the Meta Quest 2, is like you don't see anything in the outside world. But maybe here you start looking like this, you can see something. But it is completely immersive, and you can kind of forget that where you are, right? And that immersive is like what is driving new ways to do stuff. And of course, this is not just for games. It's not gonna end. It's just going to evolve. Of course, the gaming industry was the one like starting this kind of digital revolution, because actually this was mostly for games a few years ago. Now it's using for everything. Like the European Space Agency is using, for example, what is called what was the name? The facilities where they come together to build satellites. For the concurrent design facilities. Thank you. The European Space Agency use virtual reality, or they also use augmented reality. NASA as well for the concurrent design of spacecraft, or even for the rovers or for Mars. Perseverance, for example, is some kind of virtual level of concurrent design. So people were using like digital assets like here in extended reality to test it. And that's how we are currently using this kind of technology. Basically, I already said this, like metaverse is augmented, mixed reality, and virtual reality. Sometimes used together, sometimes used independently, depends on the application. But the most exciting part is, for example, when you create a digital asset that you can interact with, that you can extract data, and that you can apply in the real world. That's like the most important part. These headsets, for example, and most of them, if you see, for example, the Meta Quest 2, and I saw the video of Apple, like the cameras and the sensors around, like the new ones will allow you to use your hands. Nowadays, you have to use these handsets. But this one, for example, track your movements. Maybe you guys are familiar with the Ready Player One, the movie. You see the gloves that allows you like to feel, and all the like the kind of equipment that allow you like to feel the punches. That equipment is really expensive. The way I personally see this technology coming along is like the headset will be able to track your entire movements, and then maybe you will be able to see it in another level, because the way technology is evolving is that you don't need to wear so much stuff. maybe it will be lighter. But again, like the technology is still at the level that if you want to feel something digitally, you need to wear this kind of clothes, which is great, for the haptics science it's nice, but it's evolving, right? Augmented reality, as I mentioned, like for example, the Pokemon Go game, super, super, super famous. But the other way to do, for example, augmented reality is used a lot in medicine applications. Is that how you can, for example, scan your body, and then medical doctors are able to, I don't know, predict something like predict diseases, even maybe create new kind of medical treatments for patients. So augmented reality at this level is allowing new ways of research in this specific case in medicine, right? Extended reality, I've seen this one a lot in concurrent design facilities, especially for the Mars missions, at Jet Propulsion Laboratory. They use it a lot to see the designs and then basically to come together to keep working on the design of the rover, right? And it's, I mean, you can see there in the images, like we have the people coming from different parts of the world coming together just to discuss like an architectural design. Now, the digital twins, maybe you guys are familiar, I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with the term, is how we create twin, digitally speaking, of an asset. It can be my body, for example. You've barely saw the kind of digital twin that I have like starting the presentation, but that's just for the fun part. Like the real stuff comes when I'm using, for example, a digital twin of an aircraft for improving manufacturing processes, or even you will see it later. How the European Space Agency and some companies, for example, NVIDIA as well, they are creating the Earth 2.0, which is basically a digital twin of the entire planet to simulate how the climate is evolving, climate processes, how like our pollution, the CO2 interacts with the atmosphere, and then this creates some kind of climate patterns. And for that, you need a digital twin. And of course, for that, you need like a lot of computing power. That's why it's important to start investing in this kind of computing power, because we need to create like in order to sustain this kind of technology, we need like bigger computing power. That's why the NVIDIA is investing heavily. Like I think they invested last year $10 billion on this as well. So like there is a lot of money being invested in this, meaning that well, the use case is huge, right? Well, as I say, for example, the case of Earth 2.0 and the aircraft, for example, BMW also is using the NVIDIA Omniverse, which is basically NVIDIA Metaverse, but it's focused on industrial applications. And in the case, I will show you a video. In the case of BMW, they use it just to simulate better manufacturing processes. How we can, for example, create a digital twin of Belo Horizonte in order to improve, I don't know, the traffic. Or in Bogota, I'm Colombian, so in Bogota, the traffic is hectic. I'm pretty sure Bogota needs a digital twin in order to improve, for example, the process of the traffic or stuff like that. There are multiple applications for this kind of technology.
From medical imaging to surgical assistance, artificial intelligence is helping to deliver a new standard of healthcare. Doctors use medical devices to learn everything they can about their patients. Now, NVIDIA Clara Holoscan can be used with medical devices to add real-time AI applications, like what radiation therapy company RaySearch is doing here to help healthcare providers at every stage of treatment. Here's an example of how Clara Holoscan reconstructs, automatically segments, and renders patient anatomy. Clara Holoscan can help to navigate treatment plans with voice, giving doctors the insight they need when they need it.
Zoom in.
Zooming in the image.
Rotate left.
Rotating image left.
Remove ribs.
Removing the ribs.
AI has also entered the surgical suite, and Clara Holoscan can be used as an extra set of eyes, detecting anatomy and tracking tools. Together, medical devices and the Clara Holoscan computing platform bring real-time decision support to healthcare.
as I mentioned earlier, is like driving economy. Like by 2030, it's estimated that it's going to create 40,000 jobs. In the case of the Middle East, cities like Riyadh, the capital city of Saudi Arabia, Dubai, and the new one, Neom, like in northern Saudi Arabia, they are investing a lot in metaverse because they basically want everything to be digitally driven. So it's creating a kind of revolution, and there's a lot of money, as I mentioned, being invested. Augmented reality and virtual reality are growing, and they will be reaching 758 billion estimated by the year 2026. So if you guys, for example, want to start mixing your current, I don't know, mechanical, what are your career, by the way? ¿Cuáles son sus y vos ese estudiante? All of you are aerospace, vos estás, no? Cultural, control automation, for example, that one is you can use a lot of these. But the point is, like, you need to start, like, for example, thinking on how we think outside the box, and then we mix what we're currently doing, aerospace, mechanical, graduado is mechanical engineering. Then I did a master in satellite technology, and now I'm working with Metaverse, but I'm doing mostly like business development and teaching satellites. But I also, for example, want to learn how to create virtual assets, for example, using the Unity engine. But then the most important part is how, for example, we extract the data and we process it and then we visualize it. Because the way this is going to be important for any kind of industry, for example, for oil and gas, is how, for example, you visualize the data and then you can start like return of investment out of that data. The visualization of the data and the way we interact with the data is what will be driving basically a lot of money in the next couple of years. In this graph, for example, you see consumer metaverse, consumers meaning us, using the normal headsets for gaming and stuff, is not as big as the industrial metaverse. Why? Because as I mentioned, companies like BMW, they are implementing virtual reality for improving processes in the manufacturing chain. I just show you, for example, the NVIDIA hologram for medical applications. And for example, in the case of satellites, I used to work in Luxembourg as a spacecraft controller. So the way, for example, we can use Metaverse is how we can do spacecraft operations with virtual reality. How, for example, the system feeds me the telemetry, and then I am able to see what is going on inside the spacecraft that is 26,000 kilometers away, the ones in GEO, for example. And then the enterprise metaverse is growing, but it's not as big as right now as the industrial one. Economy growth, as I told you, like this is relevant. Guys, remember that anything that we do in our industry, aerospace, medicine, arts, control, whatever, we need to have the business mindset. Everything needs to drive money. Because if we are doing something and our solution is not as profitable as society needs, is good, but it's not going to get investment. And this is critical for us to think. When I was a student back in like a few years ago, when I was doing Minha Graduação, I didn't think about business at all, and I thought that was not really important. But when you jump into the industry, and then you start seeing that, in fact, if the business is not growing, if what you're doing is not producing no kind of revenue, at the end of the day, you're going to lose your job. And you can be the smartest guy in the room, but if what you're doing doesn't bring revenue, you're going to lose your job, or your business is going to be closed. And that's important when we talk about like new markets, new economies, new digital trends, because whatever we do, for example, in this case with Metaverse, it needs to drive revenue. If my company, for example, creates a digital solution but isn't getting traction, then somehow I'm losing money, and I'm going to lose at the end of the day. So it's important for us to think about it. And well, when we think about like it's 1.6 billion by 2030, I mean, maybe that is something that we can do with them, right?
NVIDIA Omniverse is a scalable, end-to-end platform enabling all industries to build and operate digital twins for scientific research, infrastructure, product design, architecture, and more. Now, Mercedes-Benz is using Omniverse to optimize new production and assembly facilities. Building a car requires thousands of parts and workers all moving in harmony. Using digital twins created in Omniverse, an assembly line for a new model can be reconfigured in simulation without interrupting current production. Production planners can synchronize plants around the world, enabling over-the-air software updates to manufacturing equipment, streamlining operations while improving quality and efficiency. Mercedes-Benz is preparing to manufacture its new EV platform at its plant in Rastatt, Germany. Operations experts are simulating new production processes in Omniverse, which can be used alongside existing vehicle production. This virtual workflow also allows the automaker to quickly react to supply chain disruptions, reconfiguring the assembly line as needed. Using NVIDIA AI in Omniverse, Mercedes-Benz is building intelligent, sustainable factories that improve efficiency, reduce waste, and continually enhance vehicle quality.
Questions so far? I know I speak a lot, so please feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. Puedo hacer preguntas en portugués. ¿Sí? Uhum.
US, for example, can use this art to make search, for example, like you said about the website, is able to.
Yes, and for the people on internet, my colleague here is asking if we can use Metaverse for surgeries. The answer is yes. The issue is the latency, because we need connectivity. And then this is the Camilo, the spacecraft operations engineer, speaking. We have the issue with the latency with it. So the way we can do is we can either use satellite connectivity or the normal fiber optics connectivity, right? If I am doing a live operation, that might be tricky, right? Because of the delay of the communication. Maybe the patient is in, I have no idea, let's say Uganda, and the doctor is in the US, right? The latency is the problem. Then, because if you're using a geostationary satellite, maybe even satellite constellation in the medium orbit, like O3 gain power of SES satellites. That was the company that I used to work for before. But the problem with satellites is the latency. If we use fiber optics, the latency is less, but still. The way, for example, with the Metaverse, how we can do it is the digital twins. So we create, I'm not a medical doctor, so I might be saying something that is not accurate, so please take this with a salt of grain. But the way we can operate using Metaverse would be like creating a digital twin of the patient that I'm going to operate, right? Using the scanners, and then like I perform virtually the operation, right? And then the system records my movements, similar to the robot baristas or the robot cookers that we have seen online, something similar like that. So my avatar recreates, like records my movements. Then back in Uganda, the machine will be replicating my movements. But the current issue, and I think I put it in one of the slides, maybe after or before, is the latency. Because we have the battle of the latency. That's why Elon Musk say like, oh, we need a Starlink, because like for gaming or banking, like we need less latency. That's the current issue with the technology, is latency on the communications. But again, like the digital twin approach could be a solution. Nevertheless, I don't know if the medical community would agree that could be the best way to do it. So that's why I say, please take it with a salt of grain, because I'm just a satellite engineer. So that could be one. Any other question, guys? No? Okay, wonderful. Please feel free to interrupt me, guys, if you want questions. Oh, yes, please. Absolutely, that's already been done. Like the way currently students are, the surgeons are getting ready for surgeries, they perform digitally. So they can make all the mistakes you want virtually, and then they get ready. So in fact, yeah, that's a great example. Is like they get ready with digital assets. So they operate digital patients, and then when the real one comes, they know what to do. So it's a way to avoid mistakes. And then later I will show you, for example, how we can build a satellite and how we can train, for example, on how to do integration of a 3D CubeSat and then avoid mistakes when we're doing the real one, right? But now let's talk about the space applications, for example. How you see guys using Metaverse for a space? Could be training, as we are mentioning, can be, of course, simulation, and then, of course, I mentioned the digital twin of the Earth, right? We are entering the Artemis era, right? In 2024, we are aiming to go back to the moon with the Artemis, with the Artemis mission, right? How can we train astronauts for going back to the moon or going back to going to Mars, right? We can use Metaverse. In fact, JPL has an entire let's say, digital twin of Mars using all the data that they have been collecting for decades of Mars. So they created like this training environment for astronauts. Similar we do for the moon. Even last year I saw this one. They were like a competition challenge for globally for people to design virtual environments for training for astronauts on Mars. That was run by NASA. So those are ways we can use Metaverse for the space. Yeah, this one. The challenge offered 20 prizes totaling $70,000, with each category receiving 6,000. I mean, great. Maybe like I hope they launch more in the future, and then maybe we can all participate again. But that's just one. The way I personally see use for Metaverse for a space is for climate research, for protecting our spaceship Earth. How we can monitor all the kind of climate patterns that allow us to like take better decisions. How can I monitor, for example, the deforestation in the Amazon rainforest? How can I monitor the deforestation in the jungles of Sumatra and Indonesia? And then how can I don't know, create models that allow me to take better decisions? So we can use, of course, all these kind of 3D digital assets for even they can use for political statements, like anything of this can be used in order to improve the way we interact with our environment. So Earth observation data analysis and visualization using augmented reality is a huge way nowadays to use this.
The Curiosity rover landed on Mars on August 5th, 2012. Since then, it's sent over 200,000 images back to Earth. NASA engineers have transformed these photographs into a 3D model that our scientists use to study the surface of Mars. We wanted to share this tool with everyone, so we collaborated with Google to create an immersive web experience called Access Mars.
Hi, I'm Katie. Welcome to Mars.
Access Mars features some of the most important locations of the mission, key points of interest, and narration from JPL scientist Katie Stackpole.
It lives on the web, so you don't need to install anything to check it out. You can view it on a computer, your phone, or a VR device.
And because Curiosity is still on Mars, we will continue to update data so you can see where the rover is right now. Our scientists have virtually explored Mars with this technology, and now you can too.
So that's how, for example, we get ready for Mars missions. Now, going back to the Earth digital twin, oh, it's not starting. It's a video here. Agency came together with the European Commission to basically launch this initiative to create a digital twin. So it's not only NVIDIA. NVIDIA is just like from the corporate side, but Europe is kind of trying to drive this digital innovation with the digital twin, and they are investing 150 million euros until 2024 to create this. So several companies, and actually I remember my company was part of a consortium as well to be part of this, to create a digital asset of Earth. Basically, as I said, just to monitor the way our activities interact with the environment. But now let's talk about, for example, the Metavisionaries environment. Metavisionaries is the company that I work for. And we have created, let's say, like a digital classroom for basically teaching. So whatever you guys have in mind, you want to learn rocketry, we can put a rocket here. You want to go to Mars and have a lecture on Mars, we can have it on Mars. So actually going to show you that. We will be passing this MetaQuest to just to play a little bit with that. But the way, for example, the virtual classroom is important is because we want to somehow create capacity building for a space in order to create skills that allow us to work in the Space Innovation Labs. What, for example, is the Space Innovation Lab? I think I mentioned it earlier. It's a physical lab that is connected virtually with a network of other Space Innovation Labs globally. But the fun part is that these labs are connected to the International Space Station. So that's why we call it Space Innovation Lab, because the labs are connected among each other. It's for cross collaboration, and everything is just to somehow like do research in a space, right? We recently we partnered with a company in Belgium called Space Applications. They have been doing, they have been launching actually payloads to the International Space Station for the last decade, and then we partnered with them in order just to bring the metaverse component into what they are doing. So now that's why we have, for example, the connectivity with the International Space Station, and we're able to do stuff from the virtual classroom actually.
Good day, Earth, and welcome to the International Space Station. Today, I have the privilege of supporting an interesting research experiment in the biomedical science and healthcare, which uses the space environment to conduct research which is strongly relevant to life on Earth. Diabetes is a chronic health condition that affects how your body turns food into energy, and close to 500 million people are living with diabetes worldwide, and the number is projected to increase in the years to come. With this experiment, the scientists aim to improve the efficiency of treating diabetic foot ulcers and make a real difference in the life of people affected by this condition. As the mouse studies aim to identify important biomarkers found in the human skin microbiome that can potentially be targeted for therapy. Skin tissue samples of patients from both Malta and Saudi Arabia populations are integrated in this experiment here in the IceCube facility in the European Columbus module. This experiment is led by biomedical scientists at the University of Malta in collaboration with scientists from King Faisal Specialist Hospital and Research Center in Saudi Arabia, Weill Cornell Medicine in the USA, and the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center in the UAE, who will all benefit from the resulting data and share it with the world. This experiment is just the beginning of what we can achieve together through international collaboration. And as a UAE astronaut, I'm happy to contribute, and I'm confident that the results of this project will inspire future generations to pursue their dreams and make positive impact on the world. Thank you for your time and attention, and greeting from space.
Basically, because we have the digital model of the cube of the Project Mallet 3 inside the dome, And we have it so far, it's just for education purposes, because we want people to see the model and see like, because a lot of people are not familiar with how you can do a space medicine. A lot of people have no idea that you can do medicine in space. And for those that are maybe wondering why it's important to do medicine in space, basically because we can do new kind of research and treatments using microgravity as a tool for patients here on Earth. So we partnered with the University of Malta and this hospital in Saudi Arabia to bring the metaverse component into this project. And I will show you later in the model in the classroom. The classroom is part of what is called the meta chip, which is basically like spacecraft orbiting Earth orbit. And the cool part is that we not only have the classroom, but we also have like a digital twin of the Space Innovation Lab. So it's a virtual lab. We also have like an art gallery and people like even some we have had some kind of NFT displays in the meta chip, which is kind of fun. So that's the fun part of this. And I think this is basically how it looks. I will show you later in reality. And with that, I want to thank you guys for your attention. And of course, I'm open for more questions if you want. And in the meantime, I want to also start a workshop. So please start dropping questions, but we also start the workshop. So questions? No questions? Yes, please. Yes. So the idea of the digital twin is that I have a constant feed. So whatever, let's say, I don't know, we have a new island, right? So I will feed the digital twin with the data of this new island into the digital twin so I can model it. So the idea of the entire digital twin or whatever digital twin is that it's constantly fed with the new data. Because if I don't have new data, then that doesn't make real sense. It will be just like a simulation, right? I'm just opening here the classroom. The good thing about these guys is that you don't need a headset. You can access. I mean, you can see now that I'm trying to access from the laptop, but you can also access from your phones. I'm gonna use Doctora Pereira avatar here. Doctora, profesora, same. I'm gonna access here. Anybody can access Cluster. This is like a free app. It's Japanese, so you can have like your avatar in manga mode. This is, let me show you first. Let's go to Mars. So if somebody wants to have a lecture on Mars, we can actually have a lecture on Mars. This is like a new environment that our development team put together for the team project that Professor Pereira and I will be leading in San Jose's campus. And yeah, the cool thing, guys, is that we can literally do anything. This is like a game. And maybe you are pretty smart, but for people that are like struggling with learning, the way this is important is because this helps to create like connections in the neurons in our brains. Remember that when we get excited, it's when we are learning. So for kids that are having like issues learning, this could be a new way. So here, for example, is Maria Cecilia on Mars. Hola, Cecilia, you're on Mars. And then, for example, Cecilia. Yes. So Cecilia here is in Japanese mode. Can you actually? Sorry. So this is like a game, literally. Like I'm here, like if I was doing some kind of gaming. But now, what I want to see is like in the control panel, I want to see perseverance. So here now, I am with perseverance on the surface of Mars. And why this is relevant or fun? Because if I want to teach kids, for example, the importance of robotic planetary exploration, I can do it this way. But let's go back to our workshop because this is really what I want to do with you guys. So I want in the meta chip in the dome, I want you guys to build a CubeSat. So maybe okay. Let's do it this way. I have the headset. I need a volunteer. Who wants to be a volunteer? You? Okay. Come, welcome. Bienvenido. Y los colegas están ahí. No. Sí. Sí. So sometimes the development team and I collide in the same rooms. Let me ask. Hi, Maha, do you hear me? Maha. So that's Maha. That's part of. She's the senior developer. She's based in Egypt, in Cairo, and she told me earlier that she will be testing some kind of stuff in the room. So that's why I'm not surprised. But anyway, what you're looking here is like our table with the satellite parts, actually, with the satellite parts, and this is basically for us to play around on how to build a CubeSat. Let me just show you. So who is my volunteer? Okay, so actually you're come here in the middle. Just yes, here you are. Wonderful. Oh, you are okay. Wear it? No, it's because like I earlier set up the boundary, because the way you use this, you need to set up a boundary, because and then when you go out the boundary, it pulls you out of the world, and it's like a kind of safety measurement, so you don't destroy the stuff. So give me your hand. No, it's this, and then give me the other one. Give me this one. Yes, thank you, Cecilia. Wonderful. Okay. You know how to play with joystick, right?
Yes.
Okay, so these are the joysticks. Here's the joystick. Here's the joystick. Okay, cool. So I don't see you. Where are you? Do you see me? You know what? Actually, can I use it for a moment? Yeah. Sometimes this gets stuck, so I need to go out of the room. 1 second. Can I? See, I need this. Yeah. 1 second. I need to get in again. I think it goes with what? No?
Maybe yes.
Yes, that's why. So you see what I told you about the connectivity? When you have connectivity issues, you cannot do anything. So I'm using Profesora Cecilia internet. Let me just restart it.
Back.
It's back. 1 second. I need to restart it. So what I want you to do is you will come to this table, right? And then I want another person to come and then to use it from the laptop. And the idea is that the workshop consists that the two of you build the CubeSat. It of course is not going to be perfect, which is fine, but the idea is that we can show how we can work together on building something. And basically what we're doing here is like concurrent design. Let me just set up this. In the meantime, do you guys have any more questions? I will be more than happy to answer while I'm trying to set up this. Is that a no? Second. So what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to work here. So I'm setting up the boundary. It's like easy, you know. I know I look kind of funny walking around with this, but like that's how the Oculus works. I think it looks like it's rotating.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 second. It's in place. So one of the limitations of these guys, as I mentioned, is definitely the internet connectivity. For example, if we want to talk about education in, I don't know, Colombia, Uganda, or anywhere using this kind of technology, definitely the connectivity is gonna be an issue. So, for example, if you guys are thinking on starting a company to provide telecommunication services, definitely you will have a huge market in your hands, because basically without connectivity we cannot do anything. Like, and that applies to any industry in 2023. Okay, this is starting, so sorry for that. Just need to set it up. Yeah, it's just that it's loading and I need to now find the world. Now it's getting in. Sorry about that, my friend. There you go. You guys should be able to see me. Yes. Okay. You see me?
Yes.
Okay, lovely. Come. Okay, this is right hand. Everything, so the magic is with the joysticks. So what you're gonna do is like you with this one, you rotate with this one. You see me rotating? That with this one you rotate, and with this one you move back and forth. You see? Yes. Okay, nice. This is for walking. The way you pick up stuff is you point towards it. So now, for example, I'm pointing towards the first solar panel, and then with this trigger, you grab it, and then you keep it push, and then oops, it went back. You keep it push, and that's how you move it, right? All this. Oh, here I'm gonna clean it. Sorry, it's like this. No worries. Is it tight? Yeah. Okay, now who wants to come from the computer? No one? Come. Okay, nice. So here you will be using Cecilia's. Come here, he cannot see us, it's fine. And then you need to jump. Okay, this is basically like a game. You just move around like this, right? And then if you want to walk, you just come with the arrows, right? And then for grabbing stuff, you need to come really, you need to point to this and then click it. If you want to drop it, Q, and then move away. Cool. Let's see. Spoiler alert, is really annoying from the laptop because the handsets are like more handy, of course. Mejor como, ¿cómo se dice? Controles. Como los controles de la mano es mucho más fácil. Now, guys, I want you to somebody grab the satellite bus. The satellite bus. The trio structure. That's like the satellite bus. That? Yes, grab it, and then bring it next to. What's your name? Mateus. Mateus. Okay. So bring it next to Mateus, and then Mateus is gonna try to put the solar panel on the top. You can, I know it's, you can drop it. Okay. With Q and then move away. Oops, what is happening? No, you just move away. You are jumping. Q and then over. Now, one second. I don't know what happened. Let me. Q. Cecilia, your avatar got stuck somewhere. Ah, she got stuck in the structure on the. Yes. Now, wonderful. He's your savior. Cool. You see what I see with the issue with the computer? It's nice that it, for example, allows you to come in the virtual world with the computer. But if you want to build something, of course, it's better with the hand controls for the practicity. You keep going, you're fine. Just try to put all the parts together. So you guys have been designing a CubeSat for what I've been told. So try to put all the subsystems. So you see like the big one is the camera, that's the payload. So try to put the payload inside the structure, and then try to locate the solar panels in the right position. From the laptop is going to be complicated, but Mateus can help you to put them. So what you can do is you just can try to bring all the parts close to Mateus. And I think you can walk through if I'm not mistaken, you can walk through the table.
Okay.
Yes, now you are being happy. Yeah, exactly. So, yes, this is a game, and I acknowledge this is fun. But for example, if you guys are not like me, you guys have actually the opportunity to build satellites here. If people like me that didn't have the opportunity to build CubeSats during their master and they're using this is actually a kind of fun way to learn how to do CubeSat integration, which is great, of course. I mean, indeed, this CubeSat is massive. It's not like that. The actual little one over there is the real size of a 3D CubeSat. And yeah, I mean, with that, I just want to thank you guys again for attending this. And if somebody wants to keep playing around, more than welcome, and I'm more than happy to answer more questions.
I was not the perfect person because I don't know how.
Don't worry. I always struggle with the computer. It's not your fault. It's because, as I said, it's better with the headset.
Yes, but I don't know how a satellite. Yes, I'm on confirmation, so.
He's part of your team. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Isso era mais legal dos engenharias.
Se mês que vem, se tiver vaga para automação, vamos ver.